1 minute to Senator Matsayo Stewart Mwachiro.
Asante Bispika. Bispika, kwanza nataka kumshukuru ndugu yangu Haniri kwa taarifa kama hiyo aliyosema ya mambo ya kuweka utamaduni mbele. Bispika, kitu cha kwanza tunaelewa kwamba mwache asili ni mtumwa. Kwa sababu huwezi kuacha asili zako alafu ukasema wewe unajipiga kifua ukisema kwamba uko huru katika ulimwengu zako haziko. Kitu cha pili Bispika ni kwamba tunaona kama tutaanzia asili sasa, sisi wenyewe kama waheshimiwa hapa ndani ya bunge ni lazima tuzingatie pia majukumu ya utamaduni. Ikiwa nchi nzima inatuangalia sisi kama watu ambao tumeweza kufahamu mambo ya utamaduni, ni umuhimu hili bunge lichukue nafasi hiyo, liwe kipaumbele kueleza mambo ya utamaduni. Ukiangalia hivi sasa historia ya bunge ni kama ambayo imeisha. Nikisema hivyo ninamaanisha ya kwamba tuko na kaburi la aliyeanzisha taifa la Kenya, ambalo hilo ni kaburi la mzee Jomo Kenyatta. Katika nchi zingine za kimataifa, hapo ni mahali pa watalii kwenda kuangalia. Pia ni kiongozi aliyekuwa wa kwanza kuanzisha nchi hii alikuwa anaishi namna gani, aliweza kuongoza nchi namna gani, na historia kuweza kupatikana. Lakini hivi sasa limewekwa kando, hata waheshimiwa wenyewe walio katika bunge hawawezi kulifikia. Limekuwa kama ni kaburi la familia. Lakini kama ni kaburi la familia, lisingewekwa katika mazingira ya bunge. Ingekuwa vizuri kama sisi katika utamaduni wetu na kuweza kueleza wale watalii ama watu wote wanaokuja katika Kenya kutembea, kuona kwamba kaburi hilo lingekuwa mfano kielelezo kama utamaduni wa kwanza. Pia vile vile tunaona katika bunge wakiweza kurekebisha mambo, wanarekebisha mambo. Na hivi sasa, zamani tulikuwa tukipita hapa, kama nilipokuja mwaka ule mwingine nilikuwa wa 13 14, tuliona viti vya spika, tuliona nguo zake, tuliona tamaduni nyingi zilizokuwa hapa bunge. Lakini hivi sasa kwa sababu tumeweza kutengeza, tunasema tunatengeza kisiku hizi. Angalie sasa vile ilivyo Bispika. Hakuna kielelezo chochote katika bunge kuambiwa kwamba spika wa kwanza aliketi kwenye kiti hichi, kile kilicholetwa na wakoloni. Hakuna tamaduni zozote ndani ya hili bunge letu la Kenya. Kwa hiyo Bispika, nafikiria ingekuwa muhimu pia kuangalia tamaduni kama hizo. Bispika, vile vile nikiweza kukubaliana kwa upande ule wa utamaduni, sisi kama watu wa Mijikenda kutoka maeneo ya pwani tuko na nguo kama mahando. Hizo ni nguo ambazo tungejivunia, lakini ukiangalia katika utamaduni wetu sasa tunaanza kusema kwamba mahando ni mambo ya zamani, hayawezi kutumika hivi sasa, na hali hiyo ni kitu muhimu zaidi. Vile vile tuko na mahali kama kule Kayafungo ambako wazee wetu walikuwa wakienda wakiomba Mungu, na mpaka hivi sasa kuna wazee ambao wanaenda wakiomba Mungu. Lakini tukiangalia sasa tunaona Bispika ya kwamba maeneo kama hayo sasa tumeyatenga kando, barabara ya kwenda mpaka kule Kayafungo hakuna. Na tunasema ya kwamba hayo ni uwezekano wa kwamba kama serikali inazingatia mambo ya utamaduni, pia ingeweza kutia mkazo kuona kwamba barabara za kwenda mahali kama Kayafungo zimeweza kutengezwa. Kumalizia Bispika, ni mambo kama ya ile Vasco da Gama pila iliyo kule Malindi. Vasco da Gama pila ile iliyoko Malindi ilijengwa katika karne ya 14. Wazungu wanaita 1498. Mwaka huo ilijengwa. Sasa ukiangalia katika 14, sasa tuko katika karne 20. Hiyo ni karne karibu 6 zimepita. Bispika, ukiangalia hivi sasa katika Wakenya wale wanaokwenda kuangalia Vasco da Gama pila ni kidogo sana. Ni kwa sababu serikali haijazingatia ile mikakati ya kuona kwamba utamaduni wetu sisi tunaweka kipaumbele. Kwa hiyo Bispika, mimi nikiunga mkono ni kwamba serikali inatakikana iwajibike katika jambo hili la utamaduni. Asante Bispika.
Thank you, Senators. Honorable Senators, Senator Haniri made a statement, and 47.1, I don't think he expected to attract this amount of contributions from members. Rather than move it to a committee that may not even understand the origin of the statement, I would like to ask Senator Aniri to go back, look at Article 11 of our Constitution, and see what kind of law can come out to protect the culture as articulated by members. So I think you can build it further so that either you move it yourself as an act or you take it to the committee. But whichever way, the committee will have an opportunity during public participation. Thank you. The next statement is from the Senator of Trans Nzoia, Senator Michael Mbito. And honorable members, I will again give very few members this time because it's a very straightforward statement.
Madam Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 47.1 to make a statement on an issue of general topical concern, namely enforcement of rules and regulations to remove toxic paints from our country. Madam Speaker, there is a compelling need to support and enforce the country's paint industry to transition from unsafe leaded paints to minimize their devastating health and environmental impacts. Lead additives are used to enhance drying properties of oil-based decorative paints, giving them the much-needed visual appealing gloss, reducing corrosion on painted metal surfaces. However, this comes at a steep cost to human health, especially in women and children, given that these paints are extensively used in homes, schools, vehicles, buildings, roads, toys, furniture, and playground equipment. Madam Speaker, sir, lead in paint was first identified as one of the emerging policy issues during the Second International Conference on Chemical Management, ICCM, in 2009. The ICCM launched the Global Alliance to eliminate lead in paint as a voluntary partnership that is jointly led by the WHO and the UN Environmental Program in order to protect human health and environment. Exposure to the heavy metal through air, soil, and food causes brain and nervous system damage, resulting in decreased mental abilities, heightened risks of behavioral problems. It can also cause anemia, kidney damage, hypertension, impairment of reproductive function, and other disastrous effects. Some of these health impacts are generally irreversible and lifelong. Madam Speaker, as you're aware, leaded petrol was phased out of Kenya in 2005 following concerted public health campaign. In the same manner, the time to phase out leaded paints too is long overdue. The developed world banned lead in paint in the 70s and 80s, while in most of the developing world, lead paint is still legal, despite the fact that the alternative lead-free paint is affordable and easily available. Beginning 2013, issues of lead on paint came into Kenya's public domain, and in recognition of the serious threat posed by leaded paints, the Kenya Bureau of Standards developed and gazetted 2 standards to curb the production, importation, exportation, sale, and use of paints. The standards, published by the Kenya Gazette, notice number 675 of 26th of January 2018, limits the total lead content in paint, varnishes, and related products to 90 parts per million, a limit recommended by the United Nations Environmental Program. This made Kenya only one of the 5 countries that have done this, joining South Africa, Cameroon, Tanzania, and Algeria. Madam Speaker, despite this effort to safeguard human health and environment as well as to prevent technical barriers to trade across the East African region, the said standards are yet to be implemented. Madam Speaker, Kenya is under obligation to demonstrate action to address the environmental and health impact of lead exposure from these paints. The most effective way to ensure these consumers get lead-free paint with no addition of toxic metals is by enforcing the standards and creating the necessary awareness. The time to phase out lead paints is now, Madam Speaker. I thank you.
Thank you, Senator. I'll give 3 senators. Senator Faria.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me an opportunity. Thank you, Senator Mbito, for bringing this statement. There is a lot of issues in this country, Madam Speaker, that is unhealthy, yet they are continuously in our markets, like, toxic fertilizers, foodstuffs that are expired, that are repackaged. Madam Speaker, you will see even on the road, especially when it rains, there are cars that produce, so much fumes until your vision is blurred as you drive, Madam Speaker. And as a result of all those things, Madam Speaker, there is spike in cancer cases in this country. Madam Speaker, as a family, we lost 2 people to cancer just last Saturday and the just immediate Saturday, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, this is not... I think our KBS needs to up its game to ensure that the quality food, quality, petrol, quality paint and everything else that is harmful to human are tackled, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it's like, even the traffic police, if you check, you see a traffic police just stopping a matatu to get few coins and leave somebody else who is polluting the air and I think there is need to regulate the kind of pollutions that come also from cars, because they also bring their own problems in terms of, especially when it rains and, even our rivers, look at them. The other day we were in Wasingishu, Madam Speaker, in your own county. I saw a river that is like, like a raw sewer, just black thing that is emanating on the way, Madam Speaker. And I hope that water is not used by anybody, because if it does, then you expect people to get all manner of problems. Madam Speaker, even our seas and our lakes are not safe. There's too much lead in even the seas. Even now, people, in certain regions have a lot of cancer as a result of pollution in the lakes and pollution in the sea. Madam Speaker, I think this is okay. I agree that it might not be Kenyans' problem, but let us control what is within our sphere of control, and then we can, seek other interventions. Madam Speaker, even the other day there was a document, a report that showed that there was a likelihood of, trade negotiating that is going on regarding return of plastic papers in our market. There is a trade negotiation. I hope that is not true, but if it is true, I hope that we have mechanism in place to ensure that doesn't find back into our country. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Halaga Abshiro.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'd like to also add my voice to the issue of lead paints and congratulate Senator Mbito for bringing this up. Madam Speaker, the people that are highest risk for lead poisoning is actually children and pregnant women. So especially because children, as you know, have got a very high activity of hand to mouth, they chew on everything, and because in the homes, if you have any paint that has more than 0.009%, then that already can cause behavioral as well as intellectual disturbances and intellectual issues for children, and especially for mothers. I think what we're seeing now, we're asking ourselves, why are cancers so prevalent? Why are behavioral problems so prevalent? I'm surprised, actually. I didn't even realize that we still have issues of lead paint in our country, because out there since 1992, there's no more. People are phased out. Anything up to 1990, not a single in Canada, for instance, paint would contain any lead. So I'm surprised that we still are talking about this. It's taken me aback, and I'm even a bit worried that because again in our informal settlements and in our low, in our informal settlements, the paints, you see houses with paints that have really chipped, and that's actually how then the lead is released. If for a very long time it hasn't been fixed, or if there's so much chipping and things like that, and that's most of our homes, especially in the peri-urban areas and in the informal settlements. So I think this is really serious, and it should actually be looked at in a more holistic manner of how do we remove, is removal feasible, and if it's feasible, how should it be done? Because if, again, you tell people it's dangerous and they start chipping at things, they might even put themselves in worse danger than they actually are in. So I think this is something that we need to really take seriously, and perhaps I'm glad that Senator Mbito is the chairperson of the Health Committee, and even though he asked it under 47.1, perhaps it's something that he should take on, and maybe it should be assigned to him to really look into and give us an audit of where we are as this country, if we're still importing or making leaded paints, and how that is then might be affecting our children and future generations, because actually our children and the mothers are the ones at the most risk. Madam Speaker, it's very disturbing that in this day and age, when people are dealing with other, more topical and more serious matters that they have no control over, even things that we have control over, even things that are easily done by us just putting certain rules and regulations, we are still putting ourselves in so much danger, and then wondering why non-communicable diseases are spiking, and why even for communicable diseases, our immune systems are so poor that we cannot handle any of these things. So I support, Madam Speaker, and I hope that this will be looked at a bit more by assigning it to a committee. I thank you.
Finally, Senator Cheruiyot Aaron Kipkurui.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this is a very important issue. The difference between civilized societies, countries that care for their citizens, countries that places a premium on people's lives over profit, is in how they handle such issues. As a nation, Madam Speaker, I'm afraid we haven't done well in this area, despite the fact that this is about human lives, plainly. It's not a discussion about profit. It's not a discussion about plastic and the degradation of environments. It's purely about human lives, Madam Speaker. And this is such a serious indictment on us as a leadership, because there's nowhere else that citizens of this country are looking up to for answers on such questions. Why such paints are still in use in our country? Why certain types of fertilizers that are banned all over the world but only used on the poor people of Africa are still being traded within our society? Why, if you walk, Madam Speaker, down Nairobi River, you'll find all sorts of effluents that are being sent down such a beautiful river, and the authorities, our National Environmental Management Authority, seem to be content with just issuing warnings today, then the following morning, after maybe a visitation, or when they realize that there is no much attention on the particular issue by the media, they sweep it under the carpet. This is really unfortunate, Madam Speaker. And as a House, this is a matter that I want to encourage my colleague, Madam Speaker, of course, with your approval, that the Health Committee needs to have a holistic look at this issue. A statement alone is not enough, but all the issues that have been raised by our colleague senators who have spoken on this particular issue, including some of even government parastatals. When I served in the Energy Committee, Madam Speaker, if Senator Mutula was here, would have brought to the attention of this House the damage that Kenya Pipeline has caused to the people of Makueni, with the oil spills in Kibwezi, and I can't remember the other place. And they have appeared before our committee. Citizens have come before us as senators, and they've said there's nowhere else we can go. We are looking up to you guys as our leaders. Unfortunately, that matter has taken more than 2 years before the Committee of Energy, and I hope if there's a member of that committee before us, such are the issues that I want directed to this particular Committee on Health, Madam Speaker, because today we may be enjoying that because perhaps we have a good amount of money, you do not drink waters from the river, or perhaps because you do not live in some of these places that are affected. But what happens tomorrow when it's a relative of yours, or when it gets to a point such that our country is so badly affected? By the way, Madam Speaker, you know, even that protection of social strata of our society has long been eroded, because the foods that we eat, 90% of the time, you have no idea what process they have gone through. Yet we as a parliament haven't come through with regards to this legislation. Therefore, I humbly request, Madam Speaker, that you grant the opportunity to the Senate through the Ministry of Health, because this is purely a health matter. It's about the lives of our people, that they interrogate this issue and furnish us with a proper report, complete with a raft of, if it is paints and fertilizers and companies that are degrading our environment, on what we need to do as a society. I'm sure a resolution of this House to ban some of these things out of existence in the market in Kenya will be enough, and government will act. Therefore, work unto them, Madam Speaker. Thank you for this chance.
Thank you, Senator. Honorable Senators, I think the contributions have enriched the statement that was made by Senator Mbito. And Senator Mbito, you are the chair of the Health Committee. I think senators have spoken. We would like to refer it back now to the committee level so that you actually ascertain the enforcement of the rules and regulations and bring a report to this House within the next 30 days. Thank you. Honorable Senators, I'll come back to Senator Malala's statement a little later. I want to get these ones committed. The statements pursuant to Standing Order 48-1, and I will only allow the reading and one other person. The reading and one other person. Then we commit and come back, because most of you will be interested to listen to the statement from Senator Malala, which is not here, but it's a statement on the crisis in Kakamega, on the looming health. So a number of you have the same crisis, so you'll be interested in that one. So let's commit the others. So pursuant to Standing Order 48-1, the first statement is by Senator Petronila Were. She's not around, she has not sent anybody, so we skip that one. The next one is by Senator of Kericho, Senator Aaron Cheruiyot.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order number 48-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Health regarding the operations of non-payments of COVID-19 claims by NHIF and private medical insurance company. In the statement, the committee should, 1, explain why the National Health Insurance Fund has declined to meet treatment cost of its members who have been diagnosed with the COVID-19 disease. 2, state why private medical insurance companies have also declined to cater for treatment costs for their clients suffering from COVID-19. And 3, state the official position of the Insurance Regulatory Authority of Kenya, IRA, with regards to the obligations of NHIF and private insurance companies in meeting the treatment cost of their members who have contracted COVID-19. This is an urgent matter, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. The lucky senator to contribute to this one is Senator Inima Ketrut Musuruve. Please take maximum of 2 minutes.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. And I want to say, Honorable Speaker, that the issue of COVID is now really rampant in the country. And as a nation, we have to see how to protect our citizens, because we have to move on as a country. And Honorable Speaker, when it comes to the issue of insurance, it is also important that insurances also cover COVID patients. I know that there is one insurance company that came before us, Aeronet, that is actually actually covering even COVID cases. There's need for us as a Senate to see that we are supporting more funds to go to insurances that are ready to also cover COVID for the purpose of ensuring that we are flattening the curve. Honorable Speaker, unless we intervene as a Senate, many of our children, many of our people will die because of COVID, and that is not what we want as a country. Honorable Speaker, I hope that this statement will go to the right committee, and the committee will do justice to this statement that has actually been brought forward by Senator Cheriot, and I thank Senator Cheriot for coming up with this statement because of the concern he has for Kenyans. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I support this statement. I second. Is it seconding us? Oh, sorry. Honorable Speaker.
Thank you.
I support.
Thank you. The statement stands committed to the Committee of Health, and we expect a report in this House in 30 days. Thank you. The next statement is by the Senator of Wajir, Senator Dr. Abdullahi Ibrahim Ali.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 48.1 to seek a statement from the Committee for National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations regarding security checks conducted at Wilson Airport on passengers arriving from Wajir. In the statement, the committee should explain, number one, should explain why security checks on passengers arriving at Wilson Airport on local flights are being conducted selectively. Because the state, number two, state if there's any specific security threat posed by passengers arriving from Wajir County aboard local flights, considering that the security checks are conducted on passengers arriving from Wajir County only. Clarify whether the Wilson Airport security does not have confidence in the security checks conducted on passengers at Wajir Airport before departing for Wilson. Madam Speaker, security, when you come from Eldoret back to Nairobi, nobody checks you. When you come from Mombasa, when you come from Malindi, when you come from any other part. So I want to know what is so special about Wajir Airport alone, and why, if they have no confidence there, why do they check people there? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. The Senator to contribute to that is Senator Harkura Kodana of Marsabit.
Thank you, Speaker. Madam Speaker, I've had the opportunity of using the airport from the airport at Wajir when I used to travel from Mandera, and they have a very thorough check there. That time, there were even flights from outside which passed through there. But now, these are local flights which originate from Wajir, from Wilson to Wajir and back to Wilson. So sometimes, much as it's a security issue, there should be that equal treatment among the Kenyans, which needs to be done and must be seen to be done. So, yeah, what is that issue? When you have proper airport staff, migration staff there in Wajir doing the checking, somebody has boarded a plane and the next landing point is Wilson, he has not done anything mid-air, then what is this other extra check Kenyans are subject to? This is what creates in Kenyans discrimination. We have been talking of marginalization, we have been talking of discrimination, and this is how it creeps into the minds of Kenyans. When you are treated differently, just because you boarded a plane from a different part of this country, which has enough security checks to be done. And in any case, the best security check should be done at the point of boarding the plane, not when you are landing. So what is this which is different that somebody from Wajir can do mid-air that he had to be checked again? So I think the committee needs to get proper answers so that Kenyans can feel that they are being treated equally, irrespective of where they come from.
Thank you, Senator. The statement therefore stands committed to the Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations, and we expect them to bring an answer within 30 days. The next statement is by the Senator of Lamu. I don't see him here. The fifth statement is by the Senator Millicent Omanga. I don't see her here. The next statement is by Senator CPA Faria Haji.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 48.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Land, Environment, and Natural Resources regarding the current drought situation in the counties in arid and semi-arid lands, ASAL regions. Madam Speaker, in the statement, the committee should outline the level of preparedness of both the county government and national government in mitigating drought situation in counties in ASAL region, given that all water ponds in the region, especially in Wajir, have completely dried up, and elaborate the interventions measures that have been put in place by the county government in drought-prone areas to cushion residents against severe effect of drought, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, all the time we lose lives and livelihoods before any government interventions come in. We are always late on these interventions. So, Madam Speaker, we are seeking this time, let's handle this differently. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The senator to contribute to this is Senator Wako Naomi Jilo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I stand to support this very important statement by Senator Faria, and also appreciate her for the effort. Madam Speaker, as I support this, we know right now there are many Kenyans in ASAL area who are already suffering because of hunger. They are losing their animals, and they have no one who is taking care of them. Anytime when drought comes, we lose our livelihoods, as she said. We lose animals, we lose human beings, we lose our crop and everything, and nobody cares. And it is like after every 2 years or 3 years, the drought comes. It is not that the government does not know that the drought is coming, but we have always known. So is it possible for the government, as Senator Faria said, the national government and the county government, to always plan in advance so that we don't lose lives for both animals and the human beings? When this happens, our children who go to school and depend on the sales of the animals also cannot go to school. Madam Speaker, it is something that needs to be given attention. I support the statement, and I pray that the government will have proper plans to mitigate so that those who are in ASAL area will not continue suffering, because they have suffered for long. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. The statement therefore stands committed to the Committee on Land, Environment, and Natural Resources, and we expect them to prosecute within 30 days. The next statement is by the Senator of Wajir, Senator Dr. Ali Ibrahim.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise pursuant to Standing Order 48.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Roads and Transportation regarding the tarmacking of Wajir Ring Road, 4-mile road. In the statement, the committee should clarify whether the Kenya Urban Roads Authority, KURA, conducted public participation before tarmacking the Wajir Ring Road, and if not, provide the reasons. 2, explain why KURA prioritized the Ring Road over tarmacking of the Lagbogol Wajir Road, which are more important roads for inter-county socio-economic prosperity. 3, state the value of the Ring Road and what it adds to the residents, to the lives of the residents of Wajir County. 4, state the measures, if any, put in place by the government to ensure that KURA consults and gives priority to debilitated roads in Wajir County, including those that open up the county's interior for socio-economic activity. 5, state why KURA does not tarmac the roads within Wajir municipality instead of tarmacking a road which goes to nowhere. Madam Speaker, this ring road is 4 kilometers around Wajir, while Wajir town itself does not have tarmac. The KURA is making a road around Wajir town as if it's like the M24 of London, so that people are supposed to come into but this road is going to nowhere. The town has no tarmac. This is a waste of resources, and nobody knows about it, Madam Speaker. Could the committee give us proper answers for this money which is wasted?
Thank you very much. Senator Cherargei, did you press?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think I agree that I indicated earlier, Madam Speaker, before we went on recess, that it seems that the road agencies in this country have a problem. The Kura, the Kena, and Kera are chronically incompetent and ineffective. And I think it is the high time that we must relook at the law that guides these agencies, because it seems like the audit, that time we had an issue with the Don Gokundu in Mombasa. Now we are having in Wajir, we also have in North Rift. You remember the incompetence, the way they have run in compensation of your pipers in Eldoret. So, Madam Speaker, I think it is a high time that through the Committee of Roads, we call a Committee of the whole House, where the Minister in charge of roads, Mr. Masharia, must come here and share with the senators what Kura, Kera, and Kena are doing to address some of these issues. One example is that road that comes from your county, from Eldoret, Kapsabet, all the way to Awasi, and all the way to Chafakali, Western Kenya, Vihiga. There is nothing maintenance. The only time Kena appears is when either they are cutting grass or they are just marking and then they disappear. And the road is too narrow. There are so many accidents. Yet, Madam Speaker, these are, when you look at the budgeting process that we have in this country to Kena, Kera, and Kura, is so humongous. I don't know whether we give them too much money and yet we don't oversight them properly until they decide to become grossly incompetent. If you go to our towns, and Kura is one of the chronic one, because if you go to most of the towns, even with the census of 2019 across our counties, Kura, you will never get Kura doing more than 4 kilometers or 2 kilometers, yet they are allocating a lot of resources, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I think it is the right time that we audit these road agencies. And secondly, I request through the Committee of Roads that let the all senators be invited, because the issue of roads, especially across our counties, is so critical that we need answers and we need audit. And if it comes to an extreme end, Madam Speaker, as I conclude, we can, in fact, most of these Kura, Kena, and Kera do not even align themselves with the Constitution. We can even decide to scrap them and form one authority that will ensure that we get answers from one place, Madam Speaker. I thank you.
Thank you very much. The statement therefore stands committed to the Standing Committee on Roads and Transportation, and we hope they can ensure that the whole Senate is involved in this, because it looks like the problem is countrywide. The last statement is by the Senator of Mombasa, Senator Mohamed Faki.
Asante Bi Speaker kwa kunipa fursa hii. Nimesimama kuambatana na kifungu cha 48(1) cha kanuni za kudumu za Senate kuomba taarifa kutoka kwa kamati ya kudumu ya leba na ustawi wa jamii kuhusu kutoliwa kwa mkurugenzi mkuu wa mamlaka ya kitaifa ya bahari, yani Kenya Maritime Authority. Mheshimiwa Speaker, katika taarifa hiyo kamati inafaa iangazie kwanza kufafanua sifa zinazohitajika kwa muombaji wa wadhifa huo wa mkurugenzi mkuu wa mamlaka ya kitaifa ya bahari. Pili, kueleza idadi ya Wakenya waliowasilisha maombi yao kwa wadhifa huo. Tatu, kutoa ripoti kuhusu waliobobea kwenye mahojiano na waliowasilisha maombi ya kutoa wadhifa huo. Na nne, Mheshimiwa Speaker, kueleza sababu za waziri wa barabara na uchukuzi kumteua Bwana Njue Robert Mutegi ambaye alikuwa ni wa 4 kwenye mahojiano hayo, hivyo basi kutostahili kupewa wadhifa huo. Mheshimiwa Speaker, niongezea tu kwamba uteuzi huu umefanywa kinyume na sheria, kwa sababu sheria inasema kwamba wa kwanza katika interview aweze kupewa wadhifa huo, lakini huyu mhusika alikuwa ni wa 4 katika mahojiano ya kupewa wadhifa huo, kwa hivyo alikuwa hastahiki kuweza kupewa wadhifa huo. Jambo lingine Mheshimiwa Speaker ni kwamba alikuwa hana uwezo au hana tajiriba ya mtu ambaye ameweza kufanya kazi katika mazingara ya bandari, yani maritime maritime industry kwa muda unaostahiki. Kwa hiyo kuteuliwa kwake Mheshimiwa Speaker ni kinyume na sheria, na ningependa kwamba kamati iwasilishe ripoti yake kwa muda mfupi utakaowezekana, kwa sababu ni jambo ambalo linaathiri wengi hususan watu wanaotumia wanaofanya kazi za bandari. Mheshimiwa Spika, asante.
Thank you, Senator. So, Senator Matsayo, Stewart Machiru.
Asante Bispika. Bispika, sijui ni kwa sababu gani ile mic yangu leo inaonekana kidogo ina let down, utanisamehe kwa hayo. Bispika, pia mimi ningependa ni unge mkono yote aliyosema seneta wa Mombasa kuhusikana na ile kazi ambayo ni ya Kenya Maritime Authority, kazi ambayo katika eneo la Pwani, japokuwa ni shirika la kitaifa, lakini kazi iliyo katika eneo la Pwani ni umuhimu kuzingatia kuona ya kwamba ikiwa kutakuwa na mtu wa Pwani ambaye amefaulu ama ana haja na hiyo kazi na anazo qualification, basi apewe hiyo nafasi. Mimi ningependa kuunga mkono hayo, na pia vile vile ningependa kuongezea kwamba kuna nafasi zingine 4 ambazo zilitokea katika maeneo ya Pwani, na vile vile katika maeneo haya ya Pwani kazi hizi 4 ni kwamba mojawapo ni ile ya Bandari Maritime Academy, ambao waliweza kumchukua mkurugenzi anaitwa Francis Muraya, na vile vile ya pili ni mkurugenzi aliye pia akachaguliwa ambaye yuko katika shirika la Kenya Maritime and Fisheries Research Institute, anaitwa James Njiru, na vile vile kuna katibu wa kudumu katika State Department ambayo ina deal na mambo ya fisheries na blue economy, ambayo hiyo ni mambo ya samaki na mambo ya bahari ambayo yanahusikana na ufuo wa Pwani. Katika hiyo nafasi hiyo ikachaguliwa mtu anaitwa Michemi Ntiba. Spika wa mwisho ni katibu wa kudumu ambaye tunaweza kusema ana deal na mambo ya maritime shipping, ambaye anaitwa Nancy Garigithu. Spika, tunaona kabisa katika hawa watu wote waliotajwa hapa 5 wanatoka katika eneo moja katika nchi yetu ya Kenya, na kazi zote hizi 5 zinahusikana na mambo ambayo yanahusikana na watu wa Pwani. Spika, ni jambo la kukasirisha sana hili la kwamba hivi leo tunaweza kuona nafasi kama 5 zinatoka, na zote 5 hakuna hata mtu wa Pwani hata mmoja ambaye amepewa nafasi hii. Ni aibu kwa yule anayechagua, na ni aibu kwa wale wanaoketi katika lile baraza na kusema ya kwamba weka huyu mtu hapa akuwe yeye mkubwa wa Kenya Maritime Authority, weka huyu mkubwa hapa akuwe katika yeye ni Bandari Maritime Academy, weka akuwe mkubwa hapa akuwe katika Maritime Fisheries and Research Institute, weka mkubwa hapa akuwe mkubwa wa blue economy. Speaker, sisi pia kama watu wa Pwani tuko na haki ndani ya hii nchi. Hatuwezi kubali hata kidogo kuachwa nyuma. Kama nafasi zimetoka ni za watu wa Pwani, lazima watu wa Pwani wapewe kipaumbele kwanza. Ni aibu hivi leo kwamba mimi naweza kusimama hapa katika bunge la Senate na nikajidai na nikiona ya kwamba katika hii list watu wote 5 waliochaguliwa, Speaker, hakuna hata mtu mmoja hapa ambaye anatoka katika eneo la Pwani. Na hizi kazi zote zinatoka katika maeneo ya Pwani. Speaker, ninasema katika wale wanaofanya katika kuchagua hawa watu, mmoja wao akiongozwa na yule waziri wa mambo ya transport Bwana Masharia. Hii tunasema ya kwamba kitu kama hichi kisiletwe mbele yetu kabisa hata kidogo, Speaker. Asante, Speaker.
There was point of information. You wanted to inform him as he's leaving? You want the information as you have?
Ndio, ni sawa sawa.
Okay.
Speaker, mdogo wangu Malala.
Yeah.
Ndugu yangu Malala ambaye ni kiongozi wetu hapa kunaweza kueleza.
Haya, naongea kwa Kiswahili ndio uelewe vizuri.
Asante Speaker, tajaribu sana, nitajikaza kisabuni kuhakikisha kwamba nimeongea kwa lugha ya Kiswahili. ningependa kumjulisha tu ndugu yangu Mheshimiwa Mazayo na bunge hili kwamba pia zile services zile za bandari zinatolewa, zinapelekwa Naivasha, na pia kuna shurutisho zishatolewa tayari, na pia kuna shurutisho kwamba mizigo yote itashurutishwa kwamba zisafirishwe kwenye reli. Ningependa tu kumwambia kwamba akuwe na information hiyo, ndio akichangia atuambie yale machungu ambayo watu wa Pwani wako nayo, na sisi kama viongozi wa bunge hili, Bi Speaker, ni jukumu letu kuhakikisha kwamba kuna usawa Kenya hii, kwamba Kenya hii ni Kenya ambayo iko na makabila 43, na ni lazima usawa ufanyike na haki ifanyike Kenya hii. Na sisi tungependa kuunga mkono wale mandugu zetu wa mkoa wa Pwani, na sio hao pekee wanaumia, pia sisi kule Western Region tunaumia, kwa sababu tuko na mashirika kama Lake Victoria Water Services. Unapata kwamba bodi nzima liko na karibu kabila moja ambalo limekalia hilo bodi, na sisi haswa watu wa mkoa Magharibi hatujakilishwa katika bodi. So ningependa kumpatia information kwamba sio yeye peke yake ama sio watu wa Pwani peke yao ambao wanaumia, bali ni Kenya nzima, na hili janga ni lazima tulitatue hapa kama viongozi wetu.
Okay. Thank you, Senators. We had ruled that it's only one person who contributes to any of the statements, because we are going to a larger statement. Let me allow her, because Senator Malala twisted the information into another statement.
Mr. Speaker,
if you got, yeah, ulikuwa memaliza. Senator Shionga, for 1 minute, please.
Okay, give me the mic.
It was called information.
Who is going to speak in Swahili? Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Kiswahili is a bit difficult for me, so I'll express my concern in English. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to support the statement by Senator 001. Madam Speaker, it is very unfortunate that in Kenya we are still practicing the old habit of choosing people from one ethnic group or one ethnic background. Madam Speaker, Kenya people are learned nowadays. And if you are learned, then you are qualified to do any job that you have skills and experience. Madam Speaker, having looked at the statement and having seen the expression that Senator from Mombasa has raised, it's unfortunate that the people who are in this, who are interviewed, especially Nzomo, who came first, and then followed by Mashid Abdal, they were all left out, and only one, the fourth one, was considered to be the first person. This issue of people being discriminated upon tribal lines, these are the issues that we are dealing with even in my Committee of National Cohesion, Equal Opportunity and Regional Integration. I feel like even if we can have a joint meeting on this particular statement where we are going to discuss the equality, where is the equality when it comes to the equal opportunity that was supposed to be offered to these people or to the one Zomo and Abdul who won this nomination and they were shortchanged. It is important for Kenyans to know very well that everyone is learned and everyone is qualified. And if at all they are discriminating because on tribal line, then this is what Senator Malala was raising in a statement where he was saying that some jobs are skewed towards one tribe. And we are really against this. Heading to where we are headed, then one line or one group or one ethnic group then emerges a winner even where it doesn't qualify. And this is the worst thing that can ever happen in such a century. Madam Speaker, I beg that when we are having this statement, let it be brought, we have a joint meeting of Labour Committee and my Committee of National Cohesion, Equal Opportunity, and I'm expressing my concern because equal opportunity was not actually measured here. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Of the national and county governments summit And our agenda today, as you all know, was focusing on the COVID-19 and the decision that we made to de-escalate COVID measures on the 27th of September of this year. So today we interrogated our performance during the last 38 days of de-escalation, and we were asking ourselves, how have we done and what could we have done better? We then went through the process of reviewing where our strengths lie and where are our weaknesses, and how can we forge ahead in the coming months. Today being the 38th day since we eased the COVID measures of 27th of September, we must agree that a lot has changed. When we made the decision to reopen the country, our positivity rate had fallen from 13% in June of this year to 7% in July, and to a low of 4% in September. Our COVID bed occupancy had also gone down by 60%. We had flattened the curve to below a 5% positivity rate that is recommended by the World Health Organization. And it is these factors that gave us the courage to reopen and to ease out COVID measures in order to boost our economy. But ladies and gentlemen, 38 days later, it is most unfortunate, but we have, without doubt, experienced a reversal, and a serious one at that. If our COVID bed occupancy had gone down by 60%, giving us the comfort to reopen as we did in September, the occupancy of our COVID beds has now gone up by 140%, and this just during the last 38 days of easing our COVID measures. The COVID positivity rate that we were all very happy and excited about when it dropped to 4% in September has now shot up to an incredible 16% in the month of October. This is 4 times what it was in September. And what does this translate to? What it means is that in September, if one person was positive, in October, it means 4 people have tested positive. That is almost 3 times the rate. And fellow Kenyans, this increase only in 38 days. In October alone, we had over 15,000 new cases of corona infections and approximately 300 deaths. And these statistics coming from our National Multi-Agency Command Center on COVID-19. In fact, October has gone down as the most tragic month in our fight against COVID. We are now staring at a new wave of this pandemic, and the question we must all ask ourselves is, where did we as Kenyans go wrong, and what could we have done differently? Although the second wave of this pandemic, we accept, is a global affair, the last 8 months have taught us a few lessons that are useful in combating this new surge. Firstly, our most successful fight against the virus was recorded after the measures we took on the July 27th, 2020. The very stringent measures saw a new fall in new cases from 4,720 during the first week of July this year to 866 new cases during the second week of September 2020. But when we de-escalated measures in accordance with the wishes of many Kenyans, our cases rose from that 866 low to 6,402 cases by the last week of October 2020. These figures, fellow Kenyans, suggest a correlation between stringent measures and a drop in infections. They suggest that in order to heal our country in the long run, we must and have to make some sacrifices in the short run. The second point is that the last 8 months have taught us also that the exercise of civic responsibility is a central plank in the war against this pandemic. Between June and end of September, the country witnessed a heightened level of public awareness and public restraint. Our country witnessed a high level of observation of COVID protocols, and we were aware and took our civic responsibility seriously. But after de-escalating the measures at the end of September, we as Kenyans seem to have backtracked from the practices that we learned in the early stages of this pandemic. And all of this built around the false notion that because the curve was flattening, the country was now safe and we could go back to normal behavior. And indeed, it was for this very same reason that I warned in my last COVID address that what seems like a victory in September could become a big liability in October. And in fact, this is what has happened. And at the same time, I said that we may win the battle, but lose the overall war if we, as citizens, do not remain vigilant. More so, because again, as I said, the most fragile point in any war happens at the point when victory is in sight. And this is why I emphasized that to win the overall war, the citizens have to exercise their civic duty and responsibility, especially in observing the COVID protocols. The third lesson of the last 8 months has also to do with enforcement. Over this period, it cannot be gainsaid that the public has suffered a certain level of COVID fatigue, for lack of a better word. And with this fatigue, public responsiveness to COVID protocols has also greatly reduced. And this has resulted in the overstretching of enforcement agencies, basically reducing their efficacy and their ability to do their job. But I remind you once again, fellow Kenyans, as I mentioned during my 10th COVID address, that the government does not have the ability to police the morality of its citizens. We will double our enforcement efforts, but it is you, the public, that will play the most critical role. You must remember that it is not my government's desire to close down our economy. We want our country to remain open. But whether or not we will remain open shall ultimately depend on the public's responsiveness to COVID protocols. The fourth, and as I mentioned to the COVID summit today, this moment also provides a unique call to leadership. And although public and civic responsiveness are critical to fighting the rise of COVID numbers, leadership is what will reverse this escalation. And from where I sit, if the public has backslidden from its vigilant fight against the pandemic, this has been occasioned in part by the diminishing stamina on the part of our leaders, and for us, not leading by example. If the nation is succumbing to the fatigue created by the virus, indeed it is a tragedy if the leaders also give in to the weariness as well. And if the people have fallen short of giving their best this time, we as leaders have also fallen short. And we as leaders this time round have no option but to give our all. We must know the way, go the way, and show our people the way. And by leaders here, I refer to those in government like myself. I refer to those in the corporate sector. I refer to the leaders of our religious sector and all sectors of our country. And my call to action is for them to rise to the occasion and for them to help navigate through the uncertainties of this pandemic. And while at it, we must recognize that this is not a time for popular decisions. In order to appease the public, we must choose the bold over the popular if we are truly to serve our people. So therefore, fellow Kenyans, and on the recommendations of the National Security Advisory Committee, the National Emergency Response Committee, and with the concurrence of the 6th Extraordinary Session of the national and county governments, the protocols and guidelines that were previously eased are today reviewed as follows. The first is that today I direct that all cabinet secretaries, chief administrative secretaries, and principal secretaries to scale down all in-person engagements within government and to take appropriate steps to foster the discharge of their mandates by themselves and their officers through virtual means where possible. 2, similarly, and to protect government staffers drawn from vulnerable groups, I direct that all state and public officers aged above 58 years or who are immunocompromised to work remotely. This with the exemption of those serving the nation in critical sectors. Number 3, with respect to the examination classes that have already resumed learning, I hereby order that they continue with their learning and examination preparations, but under heightened health safety measures, and with that, also order that all basic education classes resuming in-person learning in January of 2021. 4, to foster the state's preparedness towards the reopening of all classes in our learning institutions in January, I urge and encourage members of Parliament to engage their respective NGAF and CDF boards with a view of finding ways to augment the existing interventions that are geared towards the reopening of our schools. I urge them to make investments that focus on additional hand-washing points in our schools, on the provision of face masks to our children, on general sanitization in our schools, as well as the physical distancing of students and teachers. And number 5, that all political gatherings and rallies are suspended for a period of 60 days, and this to take effect immediately. And anyone wishing to hold such meetings should do so in town halls, and in doing so, must observe all COVID protocols, including limiting the attendees to 1/3 seating capacity of the hall and the wearing of face masks. And that 6, to enforce compliance at both the national and county levels, I direct the Ministry of Interior to constitute a special enforcement unit made up of the National Police Service, the National Government Administration officers, supplemented by the county government inspectorate units, to jointly enforce all COVID protocols. And that 7, that the nationwide curfew is extended up to the 3rd of January 2021. And 8, that beginning tonight, the 4th of November, the curfew will now be enforced between 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. in the morning. And 9, In consequence of the variation of the 10 p.m. curfew, all bars, restaurants, and other establishments open to the public must now close by 9 p.m. 10. In view of the restrictions within the hospitality sector, I further urge all operators of hotels, restaurants, eateries, bars, and other establishments that sell alcohol on wholesale or retail terms to do all that is necessary to ensure enhanced compliance with the Ministry of Health's guidelines and protocols, and those who fail will have their establishments immediately shut down. 11, that the directions governing religious gatherings remain unchanged. Any indoor religious gathering, other than for the purpose of a wedding or a funeral, shall have no more than 1/3 of its normal seating capacity occupied at a given sitting. The Ministry of Health guidelines remain in force. The Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government is hereby directed to ensure strict enforcement, and those who fail to meet those requirements will be stopped from further gatherings. And 12, county governments to maintain isolation facilities in a state of preparedness through continuous capacity building for healthcare workers, provision of adequate PPEs for healthcare workers, and continuous implementation of infection prevention control measures, and the provision of piped or portable oxygen. 13, I want to make it abundantly clear that where there is an upsurge of COVID-19 cases in a specific county, the national government will consult the affected county to issue localized lockdowns and movement restrictions as may be necessary to stem the spread of the disease. 14, county governments and other relevant government agencies to enhance and strictly enforce all public health social measures, including hand washing, social distancing, and mandatory wearing of masks in public places, and to enhance civic responsibility. The national government and county governments have today resolved that going forward, services will not be rendered to anyone who does not abide by the Ministry of Health protocols. And in that regard, I call on the private sector to join the government in the public sensitization campaign dubbed No Mask, No Service. Bila barakoa, hakuna huduma. This applies to markets. This applies to all places where public must continue to conduct service, and as I said, in the spirit of wanting to remain open. But those who fail, we will not hesitate to shut down markets. We will not hesitate to shut down public transport places in order to ensure the health and safety of our citizens. Fellow Kenyans, I want to conclude by emphasizing again that our staying power in the fight against this pandemic should not succumb to COVID fatigue. both the leaders and the people must not backtrack in their vigilant observation of the health protocols. If public responsiveness to these protocols goes up, then enforcement becomes easy. Finally, I want to once again return to the issue of leadership. Without leadership, enforcement, civic responsiveness to COVID protocols, and all the necessary actions to beat this pandemic will amount to nothing. And that is why today I call on all my fellow leaders to stand out and be counted. And while at it, they must choose to take bold decisions instead of popular decisions, if the latter is good for our people and for our country. Sitaki niseme zaidi ya hayo, isipokuwa tena kusema, wenzangu wa Kenya, huu ugonjwa tuko nao. Pamoja tulitembea hii barabara miezi ya mwanzo kule mwanzoni, mpaka tukafika wakati, kwa sababu serikali na wananchi pamoja tuliweza kutimiza jukumu letu kama wananchi. Tukaweza pamoja kuhakikisha ya kwamba tumefuata sheria ambayo tulikuwa tumepatiwa na wataalamu wetu wa kiafya. Na kwa sababu ya vile tulitembea pamoja, tukaweza kwa muda mchache, kwa sababu tulikuwa tumecontain huu ugonjwa, tukaweza tena sasa kuanza kufungua, kuwezesha Wakenya na nchi yetu kurudi kazini na kuanza tena kufufua uchumi wetu. Lakini wenzangu, wakati tulifanya hivyo, badala ya kuendelea na ile taratibu tulikuwa naye, badala ya kuendelea na ile taratibu ya kujikinga na kukinga wenzako, tukarudi ni kama huu ugonjwa umetuondokea. Vile tuwaongea leo, ni wengi ambao wananiangalia kwa runinga ama wananisikiliza kwa redio, ambao wanajua moja ama mwingine ambaye ameaga kwa sababu ya hii ugonjwa. Na nikisema huu ugonjwa unaendelea kuenea, na waambia kwa uhaki. Kuna wengine wanasema ugonjwa uliisha, ugonjwa hauko, kule hakuna, kule hakuna. Mimi nataka kuambia ni Wakenya, tusichukue uhuru ambao tuko nao, uhuru wa vyombo vya habari, uhuru wa wananchi kuelezwa na viongozi wao wa serikali uhaki wa kile ambacho unaendelea, alafu mujipime na wengine ambao hawaongei ukweli ya yale ambayo yanaendelea katika nchi zao. Uhuru ni kitu cha muhimu. Tuwaeleza kwa uhaki haya ndiyo yanaendelea. Hatufichi. Na hatufichi kwa sababu jukumu la kwanza la serikali ni kuhakikisha tumelinda maisha ya wananchi wetu. Na hatuwezi kufanya hivyo tukiwa hatutawaambieni ukweli. Kwa hivyo tusijilinganishe na mtu yeyote. Tusiseme kule kuko hivi, hapa huko hivi. Hapana. Angalieni ukweli. Na vile nimesema, najua ya kwamba hakuna mtu, hakuna mmoja wetu ambaye hajui rafiki, dada, mama, mzee ambaye ameangamia kwa sababu ya huu ugonjwa. Na ni jukumu letu kuhakikisha ya kwamba tumejilinda na tumelinda wale ambao tunapenda. Na mimi nawaomba kwa heshima kubwa sana Wakenya wenzangu, ya kwamba hatutaki kurudi nyuma, hatutaki kufunga nchi tena, hatutaki uchumi wetu sasa urudi nyuma, hatutaki watu yetu wawe hawana na uwezo wa kwenda kazi na kupata riziki yao ya siku. Na hiyo yote itategemea vile wewe binafsi utafanya na vile wewe mwenyewe utachukua jukumu hiyo yako kibinafsi, kusema ni jukumu langu kuhakikisha ya kwamba nimepambana na huu ugonjwa na nimehakikisha sijapatia mwenzangu, sijapatia bibi yangu, sijapatia watoto wangu, sijapatia mamangu, sijapatia babangu. Na hiyo ni kulingana na vile we mwenyewe utajitunza ndio uweze kutunza wenzako. Na mimi sitaki niwadanganye. Na nilisema hapo katika hiyo speech nimesoma ya kwamba hata sisi kama viongozi tumeanguka mtihani. Tumeanguka mtihani ni kwa sababu hata sisi vile tumekuwa tukijiendesha ni kama hakuna ugonjwa. Mikutano bila barakoa, kulete watu pamoja bila social distancing. Na mambo hayo yametuumiza. Na ndipo leo pia nawaomba pia viongozi tuongoze kwa mstari wa mbele. Tusiwe watu ambao tunaongea lakini tunatenda mengine, kwa sababu wananchi wanatuangalia. Ni jukumu letu kutenda yale na kufanya yale ambayo tunaambia wananchi wetu wafuate. Na tutachukua hatua kwa yeyote ambaye hatafuata yale ambaye tumekubaliana hapa, awe ni nani ama ni nani. Tuasema maisha ya Wakenya kwanza, mambo mengine baadaye. Kwa hivyo Wakenya wenzangu, niwaombe tena nikimalizia, tafadhalini tuje pamoja tupambane na hii jangwa la corona, tuimalize kati yetu na tuweze kuendelea na shughuli zetu za kikawaida kama Wakenya. Lakini tusipofanya hivyo na huu ugonjwa uendelee kuenea na kuchukua maisha ya wananchi wetu, hatutakuwa na budi isipokuwa kwenda hata zaidi kuweka masharti ambaye itasababisha kila mtu afanye yale ambaye anatakikana. Kwa hivyo nawaomba tufanye kwa hiari yetu, tufanye kwa sababu ya mapenzi ambaye tuko nayo na Wakenya wenzetu. Tusijipende, tusahau tuko na wenzetu. Tujikumbuke kama Wakenya na tutembee barabara hii kama Wakenya na tusaidiane kama Wakenya. Na nyinyi wenzetu waandishi wa habari, yangu ni kuwaomba tusaidieni kuelimisha watu wetu, tusaidieni kutambua yule amekataa kufuata, yule kiongozi expose us, show us out, call us out, even we as leaders. If we fail in doing and practicing that which we preach. Because that is the only way we shall save our country. That is the only way we shall deal with this disease. Nasema asanteni sana, na nikimalizia, kwa sababu niko na co-chairman wangu hapa, ningependa aseme jambo moja ama mbili, kwa sababu yeye ndio co-chair wangu wa summit. Karibu chairman Wycliffe Oparanya, chairman wa Council of Governors na governor wa county ya Kakamega. Asanteni.
Ya Mheshimiwa Rais na wale CS wako hapa na mwenzangu Governor Machakos, nataka nichukue fursa hii ni kushukuru sana ule uongozi ambao umeonyesha wakati huu ambapo tunapikana na janga la corona. Kwanza wewe umekuwa na sisi kama magovernors mikutano karibu 7 kwa wakati mfupi sana, tukiongea haya mambo ya corona na mambo mengine ambayo yamekumba nchi yetu ya Kenya. Na hiyo tunakushukuru, na yale yote ambayo umetangaza leo, sisi kama magovernors tunakuunga mkono, tumekubaliana, kwa sababu hatutaki watu wetu kukufa kwa sababu ya hii ugonjwa wa corona. So, Your Excellency, we shall continue supporting you on this particular issue. We are committed to it, and we continue to plead to all other Kenyans to be careful, to take care of themselves, and also to take care of others as we move forward as a country. Asanteni.
In that area, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, third point I wanted to make is on the economic impact. And I want to indicate that the government today have indicated that they are not closing the economy as part of the containment measures that has been announced by the President. I think the economy has received a very harsh beating because of this COVID pandemic. And I think closing the